Hello and welcome to our weekly share with the commentary of the Alshich. We have come to the last parsha in the book of Shemais, which is Pekudei, and we are ready to start our share with some insights, which I hope you will certainly enjoy. Somebody at the wonderful Torah Anytime, who kindly carries this share every single week, pointed out to me that if you enjoy the share, apparently you're supposed to, you could just hit like and also share. How about the fact that lots of people don't know very much about the Alshich? It might be a nice idea, if you feel kind enough, to share the video, if you enjoy it, with somebody who you might like to say, this is the Alshich HaKadosh. So that's a nice idea. And of course, thanks to Torah Anytime for hosting thousands of Torah share. It's quite remarkable people. Okay, as usual, we're going to start with dedications. To Chaim Mordechai ben Esther, who needs the refuah shlema, for Rafal Chai ben Sora, for Yecheskel Yehuda ben Yenta, Shmuel ben Chana, the little boys waiting for the lung transplant, or Chaim ben Chana Yehudis. And last week we added to our list, sadly, a little baby boy who has got a tumor in the brain. But as I think I said to you, don't despair. I have other family members who had a little boy, a little girl who had the exact same thing, and I think she's probably 12 now. No problems, Baruch HaShem. It just needs a little prodding of heaven, and hopefully that's what our share and your tefillos will do. He's called Aaron Yedidia ben Tzipora Chaya. And then for Miria Riva Bast Sevia, who's also struggling with that horrible disease. Our tefillahs and our share should add to this process, and the chesed of HaShem is borach, in making them quickly well again. If you would like to dedicate the share for somebody who's not well, or to celebrate a simcha, or any other good Jewish reason, then please send me an email, yy@askrabbiyyy.com. at askrabbiyyy.com, and let's go on with it. Somebody sent me this here. It's called Chesed V'Rachamim. I think I want to read this to you. I think it will set the share up very nicely. It's about somebody called Shia Groucher, Rabbi Shia Groucher. If you have been if you see me on my YouTube channel, then you'll see a couple of videos I put up recently about the great good fortune my wife and I have had of being connected with him and helping in the incredible work that his organization, which is called Chesed V'Rachamim, is all about. Chesed, in natural fact, is going to be the main theme of the shears. We'll see when we get into it. I don't know who wrote this. A friend of mine sent it to me. It's called Crying at the Waldorf Astoria. So let me read this to you. I was going to abbreviate it, but I think it's so beautiful, and I hope you agree that I think it's well worth hearing. And I've decided that I hope to start the share every week with a story. I tell stories on my share. I think I'm quite good at it. At least I hope I'm quite good at it. And I think I might enhance the share with a story. Those who agree, please let me know. Okay, it's called Crying at the Waldorf. As I said, here we go. For years, the author says, my wife has dreamed of spending a Shabbat at the Jerusalem Waldorf Astoria, a very beautiful hotel in Jerusalem. This weekend, after a great deal of saving and planning, we made that happen. The hotel is stunning. I've been there. It is. The food is next level. I only ate in the buffet little coffee and cakes, but it was very nice. But I never expected to spend my Shabbat morning crying. Friday night, we realized there was a large contingency of colorful people staying at the hotel. They didn't seem like the normal clientele. Most of the people staying at the Waldorf Astoria are Orthodox, from, if you like, the pejorative ultra-Orthodox Jews. And he said these people who are the other people, the people he saw there, were not the normal clientele. I politely made conversation with a couple of them and learned that they were a large extended family. Their brother, son, father was killed 4 months ago in the line of duty in Gaza. Last weekend, the deceased hero's wife gave birth to a baby boy. Saturday morning would be the bris. A special saint of a man, Shia Groucher, booked the entire extended family into the Waldorf for the weekend. He arranged everything, from rooms and meals to the entire bris. He even arranged for visitors and VIPs in Jerusalem to join the bris. I looked around Friday night, but I didn't see Shia anywhere. There were special signs up all over the hotel celebrating the bris. There were candy bags given out to all the kids in the hotel Friday night, and everything was done beautifully with design and class, as befitting the venue. I ran into Shai early Saturday morning at prayers and realized he was wearing a hospital bracelet. I suppose that would explain why he wasn't there, and indeed it did. I asked him if everything was okay, and he told me his wife had just had a baby girl at 1:30 a.m. He got her settled and then walked from the hospital all the way to the hotel to make sure he could join the bris. And what a bris it was. Hundreds and hundreds of people came, family members, hotel guests, strangers who heard about it through word of mouth. Everyone was singing songs of faith, fellow writes. When the mother said the blessing over the bris instead of the father, she struggled to get the words out through her tears. She ended up screaming the blessing. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. But a bris is supposed to be a happy time. So while we were crying, Shai jumped in a chair and started singing traditional songs of joy. Everyone started dancing. The small circle got larger and larger as we grew to encircle the entire ballroom. Shai, still standing in a chair, changed the song to Hoshea es Amecha, Hashem who saves his people. This song is traditionally sung at Simchas Torah, which this year was shattered by violence in the morning of October the 7th, as we all remember. Nobody wanted the dancing to end. Nobody left the circle to go to lunch or talk to friends. One hotel guest, a visitor from Toronto, turned to me and said, "This is the most beautiful and meaningful bris I've ever seen." None of us knew each other, but just for a moment, we all felt close. After Shabbat, while waiting for the valet to bring our car, we saw the mom. She was being helped by her own mother as she wheeled a stroller with her newborn out the door with a jumble of little kids in tow to face the reality of life as a newly single mother with little kids and a newborn. And then he concludes, life isn't a fairy tale, but sometimes we see glimpses of how amazing the world can be. It's really very beautiful. I say again, if you see me you see my channel on YouTube, you can see a clip of the video of our experience of Shai Croucher and his organization. Again, all he does is support people who are, he's bringing tremendous achdut, tremendous unity to the Jewish people at this time when that's really the most important thing of all. And his organization, again, is called Chesed V'Rachamim. I'm sure if you want to see more about it, you can find it online, which takes us to our shir. So the shir, as I said, will interface very, very nicely with what we just read. The first two chapters of Pekudei are basically an accounting, a summing up of everything that's gone to make the Mishkan, what gifts were given, etc., etc. And then just at the end of the second of the first two chapters, that's chapter 39, there is verse 42 and 43. And so after everything is made, the Mishkan is, all the components are in place, have been created, have been made, then the Pasuk says the following thing. It says, let me just find it. Yes, Membase. Why can't I find the start of the Pasuk? Vayar Moshe. And Moshe saw es kol hamalacha, all the work that had been done. V'hinei also iso kasher tziva Hashem. Cain also. They had made it the way that Hashem had said that it should be made, or v'hinei rather. Also isom kasher tziva Hashem. Cain also. I find it very hard to translate. Let's see how our art scroll, middle art scroll here. Let's see who translates it. They'd done it as Hashem had commanded. So had they done? Well, okay, that's why I'm struggling to translate it. Because what's this? So had they done? And then it says, V'yavorech oisam Moshe. And Moshe blessed them. What's the blessing of them? What does that mean? Now here's a Rashi. And Rashi is absolutely astonishing. So if I read the Rashi to you, and Mem Gimel, V'yavorech oisam Moshe, Omer Lahem Yehi Ratzon. So when he blessed them, Rashi is saying the Jewish people, what did he say? Yehi Ratzon Shatishra Shchina B'Masi Yedechem. That you made a Mishkan so that the presence of God, the Shekhinah of God, would dwell amongst the Jewish people. Vayhinoyim Hashem Elokeinu Aleinu, and it should be the pleasure of the presence of Hashem Yisbarach should be amongst us. And he should establish under right, perhaps, guarantee that the work of what you created would never fall, would stand forever. And so there seems to be some sort of shutfus, some sort of partnership going on between the Jewish people and Hashem. That's the hint in Rashi. So the interesting is that he says that vehu echod meyud mizmorim shebatfilah Moshe, and these, incidentally, this is one of the 11 mizmorim of the Psalms, which was authored by Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was the author of 11 Tehillim, Very interesting. Good. That is what he says. That's the Rashi. So now we know what we're talking about. So he blessed them. Okay, but what was the bracha? He doesn't. There actually says that the bracha, as we said before, is the bracha that comes from Tehillim in Tzaddik. So 90, Tehillim 90, and it starts off by saying there. In fact, I happen to have it here. Gosh, I prepared this before. When it says, if we can turn to the pasuk, Tefillah LaMoshe Ish HaElokim. This is the tefillah of Moshe, the man of God, and then, of course, we say this in our tefillah in Shachris, Shabbos morning. V'hi noam Hashem alagenu aleinu masi yadenu kainenehu aleinu masi yadenu kainenehu, and that's what he said. So, what did he bless them with? With this verse. This verse that we say in Tehillim, that's what he said to them. That was the blessing that he gave. That's what the Rashi says. But the Alshich says something a bit different. In fact, hugely different. Now we turn to the Alshich, and I've been showing you, those that are with me during the weeks, the new set of Alshich that somebody very kindly gave me, the 8th volume. And a thought popped into my mind, and I wanted to see if the various commentators who put this beautiful work together, this elaborate expanded edition of the Alshich with lots of commentaries, if they commented on what I was thinking about, and they didn't, which makes me still valid as an Alshich teacher. It's not all in there. But this is what it says. And this one says, V'yevorach oisam Moshe. And Moshe blessed them, which Rashi took to mean he blessed the Jewish people. And the Alshich is not going to disagree with that. But the oisam, the plurality, the plural word oisam, them, is not just the Jewish people. Listen to this. Es HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'es Yisrael. He blessed them. Yes, he blessed the Jewish people, but he also blessed God. He blessed God. Interesting idea. Says the same as Rashi, that it should be God's will that his Shekhinah, his presence, should dwell amongst you, etc. And in that he is blessing Hashem, that his blessing should come down below on earth. Shehi kavona kol habrachas hare brachas Hashem. That is the kavona of every bracha, is that Hashem, his presence, should be seen in earth. And then last 3 words of this extract from the Alshich, O bracha Yisrael k'pshutai. So the blessing that the Jewish people are given by Moshe was, as we understand, straightforward, and that was the verse we looked at a second ago in Tehillim 90. So if that's the simple blessing, what's the complicated blessing? Well, of course this is complicated. Moshe blesses Hashem? Hashem needs Moshe's blessing? It sounds rather peculiar. And then we turn to the Gemara in Brachos. So the Gemara in Brachos is Daf Zayin Amud Aleph. And I'm going to read to you a bit of Gemara this week. And listen to this. I think you'll find this quite astonishing. So it's right at the top of the page. If you've got a Gemara Brachos, you'll see it right at the top of the page there. And it says the following thing. Omar Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Yossi. So Rabbi Yochanan says, in the name of Rabbi Yossi, Menayin Shakadosh Baruch Hu mispalil. Where do we learn that God prays? I pause to allow you to furrow your brow. God prays? To pray, by definition, surely is to pray to someone. And HaShem prays? That sounds weird, but okay, let's see what the Gemara has to say. So the Gemara says, well, I do know HaShem prays because the Pasuk says, and the Pasuk is in Yeshayahu, Nun Zayin, Nun Vov, and Pasuk Zayin, if you want to look it up. Sim es har kochi. I'm going to bring you to my holy mountain, that's Jerusalem, where the temple was going to stand. And you will rejoice in the house of my prayer. It doesn't say in the house of your prayer, of their prayer. It says in my prayer, where I pray. Well, the implication is where I pray, not where you pray to me. The clear implications, says Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yochanan, in the name of Rabbi Yossi, is that God prays. So that's where this concept comes from. An analysis of a word which is at least ambiguous, which can easily be translated, although with huge puzzling consequences, that God actually prays. My Matzili. What does God pray? Asks the Gemara. Omar Rav Zutra. Rav Zutra, Rav Tuvia says, Omar Rav, in the name of Rav, this is the prayer that God makes. Here at Psalm Lafona, let it be fitting before me. Shekitshu rachami eskasai. My rachami, my mercy, my pity, should always trump my anger. Biyagola rachmai al midasi. And so it should be the case that rachamim would come always above the chief character trait that I should always have. But it's nag in bonai b'midas rachamim, so that I should always interact with my children, the children of Israel, with rachamim. And my reactions and interactions with them should always go beyond the letter of the law, beyond what is, what I'm, as it were, strictly obliged to do. That's what God prays. But who does he pray to? Well, he seems to say to himself. Okay, right, let it be my will. Okay. Tanya, Omer Rabbi Shmuel, that's number one. Now we've got another brisa. And the brisa says another story from in the Gemara. Tanya Omer Rabbi Shmuel, ben Elisha, so Roshal ben Elisha, who was the Kohen Gadol, Pam achas nechnochsle lahaktir ketayres lefnei lefnim. Once I went into the Holy of Holies, Bari'isi a Kesriel Ko, and I had a vision of God. A Kesriel Ko is again to Kabbalistic stuff, an image, a glimpse of an aspect of HaShem, prophetic vision. Shehu Yoshev al Kisi Ram. He was sitting in his throne, mighty throne. Manosav Amali, and he turns and he says to me, Yishmael, Beni, Yishmael, my son, Barchani, bless me. So it's not just Moshe blessing God, it's God asking the Kohen Gadol, in this case, Rabbi Shmuel, to bless him too. And he said, Amarti lo, I said to him, let it always be the case that your mercy should always trump your anger, and it should always be, it should be open, it should be displayed, your rachamim al midasecha, as we should be able to see his rachamim. But it's nag in benecha, but midas rachamim, but the konas lehem lefnim the shuresadim. Exact same words, the exact same blessing. And listen to this, veneno loiba roshai, and he nodded, and it says Rashi here, and said Amen, and said Amen. So now we've got a very strange concept. First of all, Moshe blesses Hashem. And they go, so we see the Gemara says, yes, there is such a concept of Moshe blessing Hashem. Oh, the Gemara incidentally says from that, which therefore we deduce a concept, which is the blessings of an ordinary Jew, a simple Jew, not a great rabbi, not a great saint, but an ordinary Jew, someone like myself. If he or she offers you a blessing, it's a big thing. Hashem himself wanted a blessing from Rabbi Shmuel. It doesn't matter how great he was, but he's just a human being. So the blessing from somebody you might think to be insignificant relative to the person getting the blessing, no, the blessing of an ordinary person is important. But here we have a Gemara which says two astonishing things. God prays, Hashem prays, and he wants the blessings of, well, certainly great tzaddikim. Now that obviously needs a little bit of an explanation, as I'm sure you will understand. And in order to do that, we need to understand two words. Tefillah, the word in Hebrew, of course, for prayer. What is the translation of tefillah? Not, I'm going to be chutzpahdik and suggest it's not what you think it is, or what you might think it is. And bracha, what does that mean? What's the translation of the word bracha? If we translate those properly, we'll have an insight into exactly what this enigma is all about. So let's see. So with regards to tefillah, we're going to turn to somebody called Reb Chaim Friedlander. In his wonderful sefer Sifsei Chaim, or set of Sforim Sifsei Chaim, if you look at my shoulder over there, where my finger is pointing, all of those are Sforim of Reb Chaim Friedlander. How many is that? Never counted on a computer screen. There were 5, 10, 12 Sforim. So this is one of those, and it's from his chapters on Emunah and Bechira. We're going to turn to page Sof Lamed Ches, and I'm going to read a little bit to you just to show off that I'm a rabbi. Tefillah Shel Kodesh Baruch, the prayer of God, which we've looked at, and he quotes Omer Rabbi Shom and Rabbi Yossi, and he quotes our Gemara, etc. And finally, that's just exactly what we said, so I don't need to read this to you. But what is tefillah mean? What does it mean? Which is the question I posed a second ago. To understand what tefillah means, he points us in the direction of the Maral of Prague, the famous Maral of Prague. And he says, Shekasher tizboinen beloshen tefillah hu miloshen pei lamed lamed. Hello. The root of the word for tefillah is pei lamed lamed. Tefillah, there it is. The root is filah. It's pei lamed lamed. Pilel means, it says, Tehillim beyamed Pinchas v'yispalel. Pinchas got up and v'yispalel. Here's the word again. V'loshen palel kamosh per Rashi. And what does palel actually mean? It says Rashi, roes penecha lo palalti. It's the same when you see famously in Bereshis, when Yaakov is reunited with his son Yosef, he says, to see your face, roes penecha lo palalti. Now, it doesn't mean I didn't pray. To see your face, or to see your face, I didn't pray to see your face because I never expected it, because I thought you were dead. That's not what it means. I suppose if I was translating, I would say, I never imagined I'd see your face again. Does palalti mean imagine? Not quite. Reading on. Shuloshen machshova. Rashi completes our insight into the etymology of the word tefillah, palel, and says that it really means to think. Now, that's why I thought you might, I hope you're going to not be insulted, maybe you all thought that's what it meant, but palalti means to think. Sha'oma Yaakov, the Yosef locha shafti, she'era oischa oid ipam. I didn't think that I would ever see you again. So palalti means to think, and tefillah means to think. And that's what Rashi says. Come on, it says, and he brings another passage from Isaiah. We can miss that out, and also that's exactly how the Unclus renders the word palalti. The masa apecha lo savarti, says Unclus in Aramaic. I didn't think. A svara is a thought. Lo chashafti, nikras adan palalti, etc., etc. Fine. He brings other proofs. So now I'll read a little bit more. Tefillin l'zikaron. When we wear tefillin, the men wear tefillin, zikran hu b'machshava. The purpose of wearing tefillin is to remember, but you only remember if you think. You only remember if you think. Now, really, we're supposed to wear tefillin all the time. I'll read a little bit to you. Zeh loshen tefillin. Gam ke miloshem machshava. Tefillin also comes from the exact same idea, concept to think. That the purpose of wearing tefillin is to remember, and you only remember HaShem, that is. We only remember when you think about, because it says in Shema Yisrael Gimel Tes, L'zikron beini necha, is to be a zikaron, something that provokes thought between your eyes. Sheniska es tefillin kamashmasim. That the niskar, the remembering of, referred to in the Pasuk, means that tefillin are there in order to make us think. Now, in actual fact, the Shulchan Aruch says that we're supposed to wear tefillin all the time. We are not, of course, on a level to do that anymore. The Vilna Gaon, by the way, wore tefillin all day long, and there are certain unusual individuals. I mean, unusual in the positive sense, who wore tefillin. And probably today there are as well. I can't think of any that I know of, but never mind. So it's tefillin heim al rosh sheshama mashova. That's why the tefillin goes on the head, because that's where thought is focused. Shiba mashova tomid hu is barach loyla lakim. That you're supposed to have in mind your relationship with God. So there's an interesting concept. Tefillin are from the same concept, have the same concept, function in the same way, and share the same word as tefillah, which I suppose you think about is hardly a surprise. What is that you're supposed to remember? What are you supposed to remember? And what does it mean that we give a bracha to Hashem Yisborach? So let's look at our tefillah again, that Gemara. That is to say, my matzili, what does God pray? And we said, God says, my anger should always be trumped by my mercy, and that you should see my mercy, etc., etc. Just as we learned before. I'm now turning to the Ben Yehuyoda, that's the Ben Ishkai, of course, the great giant of Baghdad. He lived up at the same time as Rochaim Volozhin. So that's just after the Vilna Gaon, just a generation or so after the Vilna Gaon. And listen to what he says. He quotes our Gemara, Yesh lahakshus matzorech b'tefillah zu. Why on earth does God need to say, let it be my will that I am always going to let my mercy trump my anger, etc.? What is the point of that? He's saying it to himself. So who's he speaking to? He's saying it to himself. Doesn't sound like a tefillah. And if that's his will, well, he doesn't have to say it. The call is, then he should just do it. Who else can tell him what to do? It's God, after all. So it's very puzzling. The Gemara's answer is more than puzzling, but this is what the Ben Ishkai says. But it seems to me, I think Pshat is, hopefully with God's help, when Hashem looks into the future, obviously he knew that the Jewish people were going to, I think the vernacular says, blow it. And when I say blow it, I'm talking about galactically. Several times, golden calf, destruction of first base of Mikdash, second base of Mikdash, etc., etc. Although the example he's going to give is that the Jewish people blow it galactically as soon as they go into the land of Israel, which, of course, any one familiar with Yeshua will know exactly that's what happened. So he says, Shenema says in Devorim, as Hashem says, Lamed Aleph Tes Zayin, Moshe Rabbeinu, you're going to not lie with your fathers, and the Kom Ha'om Hazeh Behine, and those Jewish people will go up and they'll do avodah zarah and worship and chase after all the gods of the land in which I'm giving them. So it's already predicted. Hashem is telling them what's going to happen. And of course, Hashem knows what's going to happen. But in saying that, etc., now, of course, when that's true, then the midas adin, the strict side of judgment, of God's judgment in heaven, will say, wow, what a chutzpah, destroy them. They deserve destruction, as they did at the golden calf, and the spies, and they're just not getting out of this behavior. So wipe them out. As is Kalia. The ein piskan pe'elatzi yosher olahamlis ba'ad Yisrael, and there is no voice in heaven that can deny that the midas adin, the prosecution's case, is strong and irresistible. Hashem Yisborach makdim tefillah zu shekosher rachmim. That's why God established this prayer right at the beginning, so that in our parsha, the building of the Mishkan, then God says, Moshe blesses Hashem, and as a consequence of that, that blessing is going to be, and what was the blessing, as Rashi said? The blessing is that Hashem should be with us, should always underwrite us, never leave us alone, etc. That was the blessing that came from Moshe Rabbeinu. And Hashem is Baruch Magdin Tefillah Shekoshav Rachmim Ba'az La'es Hatzorach Yepiskan Pe'el Malitzim. Now, by so doing, he gives ammunition to the voices in heaven who will oppose the prosecution of the Jewish people. That they can turn around and say, but Hashem, you should do what you said you would do right at the beginning, that you said you would always defend the Jewish people. Ki, as says in Bamidbar, Kof Gimel Yutes, Lo ish el v'yekaze ben odam yiznachem ahu omer lav yabalo yaseh matzina shekol diber shegatz mipi HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because the pasuk says Hashem never lies. When Hashem says He's going to do it, He's never going to withdraw that, and He's therefore, when He said He's going to protect the Jewish people, then He's going to protect the Jewish people. When His tefillah, His prayer is that the Jewish people, and my rachamim should always conquer them, conquer my anger. That means He already puts in motion right at the beginning of the Jewish story that when the Jewish people do something wrong and the Midas Adin is prosecuting us and there's no defense, they can turn around and say, but Hashem said that He would always, you would be subservient to His rachamim, and therefore there's no defense of the Jewish people. That, therefore, would explain what it means when Hashem davens. He davens, He establishes right at the very beginning of the Jewish story that His rachamim would always be the ultimate relationship with the Jewish people. What about bracha? What about the bracha that Moshe Rabbeinu gives Hashem? We'll see that they're interconnected here. And with Sefer Nefesh HaChaim, jumping over, now when it's the bracha that Hashem asked for in that Gemara from Rabbi Shmuel, he quotes here Rabbi Chaim Hagon Rabbi Chaim Volozhin. So Rabbi Chaim Volozhiner in his famous Sefer Nefesh HaChaim, he turns around and says the following thing. And if I remember correctly, Rabbi Chaim Volozhin traveled to Baghdad to meet the Ben Ish Chai. It's a famous letter from the Ben Ish Chai to Rabbi Chaim Volozhin, telling him when his wife comes to Baghdad, his Rebbetzin comes with him, obviously, and when they come there, remember, he says to tell your wife to wear pants, trousers. It sounds strange. What he meant was, because the levels of tznius are quite remarkable in Muslim countries, and women wear not just, like you see in Pakistani women, they wear a skirt to their knees, but also pantaloons underneath. Then that's the standard that your wife will have to observe when she comes to Baghdad as well. Very interesting. But listen to what he says. He quotes Rabbi Chaim Volozhin's famous and fabulous Sefer Nefesh HaChaim, and he says that Rabbi Chaim is harech be'inyan habrocha ma inyona. He spends a long time examining exactly what does the word brocha mean. So brocha, once again, the way we normally translate it, just like I think we would make a mistake in translating tefillah. If it really means thought, most of us would say it means something else, like a request for help, etc., or maybe tefillah to give thanks to God. Ultimately, it doesn't. It means just to think about God, and those will follow from that as a consequence. But let me read to you what he says here about bracha. What is a bracha? How does bracha work? That really the purpose of bracha really means to increase kedusha in this case, and Hashem's presence in the world. And that's what he goes on to say, isn't all the Kabbalistic stuff. I'm not going to go into this. But when a person the concept of bracha is to make the presence of God more apparent in the world. And therefore, the bracha that Hashem asks from Rabbi Shmuel, the bracha that Hashem gets from Moshe Rabbeinu, is a statement from us that our intention is to increase you, Hashem, in the world, to make you more obvious, more visible, more heard in the world. How do we do that? How do we do that? Well, the answer is that the Chofetz Chaim, in his famous sefer, Havas Chesed, says that the Torah begins with Chesed, an act of Chesed, that is after the sin of Adam and Chava, Hashem clothes them, and ends with Chesed, which is Hashem himself buried Moshe Rabbeinu, takes him away from everybody else, and his soul goes up to heaven. Who's going to bury the body? Hashem himself buried the body. But, says the Chofetz Chaim, don't think just the beginning and the end of the Torah is full of Chesed, but all of the Torah is full of Chesed. Another thing to bear in mind is that the role of the Jewish people is to be the ambassadors of Hashem. That's the whole idea of the Amanifka, the chosen people. But to demonstrate that chosenness, the Jewish people have to emulate the behavior of Hashem Yisborach. And that, of course, is the famous Yud Gimel Midas, the 13 attributes of Hashem's midot, as we understand them, Chesed and Rachamim, etc., all of those. Interesting, because, of course, we started by quoting Shai Goucher's organization. So it's Chesed Rachamim. These are part of the Yud Gimel Midas, and the behavior of the Jewish people is supposed to mirror that and demonstrate that in the world. Now, let's put both these things together. Hashem davens, his tefillah is that his rachamim should always be engendered and awakened towards the Jewish people, trumping the Midas Adin. When does that happen? It happens most easily when we are blessing Hashem, when we are increasing Hashem's presence and evidence of who and what he is through and by our own behavior. So if you consider the incredible, and if you look into the Shai Groucher organization and what they're doing, it's sometimes in the difficult times you really see the quality of people and the quality of the Jewish people and the chesed of the Jewish people, and see the chesed of this rabbi absolutely off the scales. It's when we are really in trouble, as we are now, it behooves us to up our game in blessing Hashem, showing the world who he is through who we are. Chesed, Rachmim, Achdus, looking after each other. When we do that, we trigger easily the reaction from Hashem Yisborach to remember. He davens, he remembers that his undertaking is always to act with us with Rachamim, as we certainly need now. And even though there are complaints in heaven against our behavior, because we all fail, and sometimes collectively we fail, but that will be pushed away by his Rachamim, because when Hashem says something, it stands, even in the face of the most aggressive prosecution of the Midas Adin. Chesed, the Rachamim, counters the Midas Adin. Tefillah is to remember. It's Hashem remembering us and his promise to us. We have to remember to bless him and make Klal Yisrael truly the emissaries or the exemplars of the chesed of Hashem Yisborach. Never forgetting the chesed of Hashem Yisborach to us, something we're supposed to do in our tefillah all the time. I hope you enjoyed that share. I look forward to seeing you next week. And I'll another story for you too. Oh, press the like button. Please share it. Let's get more people listening.